Hey, this is Cool Trains in Montreal, and today I want to discuss cabooses for N-scale and how they've kind of evolved over the years to become a little bit better detailed, but in some cases they're not as good a value as they probably should be. So I'll just start with my oldest caboose here. This is a Bachmann caboose from probably the mid 80s, and it's the first caboose that I would have gotten in N-scale back in around 86 or 87. And I kept it today probably more as a prop than anything else. It's got very little detail on it, as you can see. However, it is probably the best example of the period of time of this kind of caboose. The only others that were out at the time were the JMC Concours cabooses, and they didn't have the extended vision caboose like this is, and they only had like this Walters type caboose, which was pretty decent, and they had the caboose similar to this one that you see over here, like the Atlas model. So this one had some very thick, as you can see, stuff, ladders and stuff. You can see the roof walk is huge. It looks a little bit out of, more like a toy than anything else, to be honest. And it looks similar to like this model here. And this is not even a model. This is kind of a Christmas ornamentation. So if you put this next to that, I mean, it's kind of close. I mean, the Christmas ornamentation obviously is not a model, but like I'm saying, it's very toy-like. And you look at this and you look at that, and you see the toy inside there. But then you go to something that's like this Atlas model. Now this Atlas model is a different type of caboose, and it's actually a more up-to-date model. It's a Trainman caboose. That's their brand. But the tooling hasn't changed in probably 30 years. So if they're charging $30 for a model like this, they definitely shouldn't, because back in the 90s, I was probably paying $10, $15 for these. So yeah, if you want to make this a better model, I would suggest, at least putting some glazing in there, because they come without glazing. I had to add my own glazing to some of my cabooses. And that's the way it was for many years. And then Walters came out with this type of caboose. Now they actually put glazing in this. And this is a pretty decent model of a chassis system bay window caboose. Here, the side railings they're not separate, they're molded on, but they do seem to have a little bit better, they're more crisp, let's put it that way, and the details are a little more crisp, and this looks less of a toy and more of a model for sure. And of course, the Atlas one over there, it looks more like a model too, not so much like a toy, but you can see that there's some toy-like aspects to it, which make it, a less than adequate model in this kind of a day and age, where you're getting much better models with much more detail. So if you're paying $30 for this, like I'm saying, it's an overpay for this type of tooling, which is probably 30 years old. Now these Walters models, they're probably 20 years old as well, and they still come with Rapido couplers. This one, of course, is from a long time ago, so maybe you can get it now with the knuckle couplers. What do you call it? The Microtrains couplers or something like that. But yeah, and that's another thing. The old cabooses, the old railroad stuff, N-scale stuff from the 80s came with these horn hook, what do you call them, Rapido couplers. That's actually what they used to call them. And they're so oversized. And I converted my fleet to Microtrains couplers like many years ago, but it wasn't cheap. And yeah, so today, modelers who are getting the knuckle couplers as part of their trains right out of the box, yeah, you're very lucky, because at the time, the best thing that they had was these really terrible, well, I mean, they worked, but they didn't look ideal, Rapido couplers. So then the next evolution, I would say, is when this Atlas caboose came out. And now they look a little bit dated too, but at the time, in the early 90s, These were revolutionary. As you can see, they have a really great quality to them. They have the glazing, so I didn't have to do any changes to that. They came with proper couplers, although early ones didn't, so I had to change out some of them. I think I have one or two that still have the couplers that I just showed, the Rapido couplers. But I mean, here, it's when you compare this caboose with this caboose, you can see that there's a faithful kind of rendition of this caboose, this international, I guess they're 40-foot cabooses, 36 to 40 feet cabooses that were built in the 70s. Much better, crisper, much cleaner looking caboose. And this would be like the standard of the N scale and probably HO as well for probably 10 or 15 years. And then we got something much better. So I'm going to move this out now. Now, these cabooses are fairly recent. I think the first of the super detailed type cabooses was this Bluford Shops caboose. Now, this is a Grand Trunk transfer caboose, and you can see now that they've started to put railings on this. And for like the 25 bucks or 30 bucks that I paid for this when it was new, and that would have been probably in 2010 or 12. Yeah, that's revolutionary for the time. Yeah. So here you have like fine details, fine railings, everything painted nicely. It looks like a model. It does not look like a toy in any way. And it comes with the proper, microtrain style couplers. And just to show you the difference here, this Grand Trunk one is, again, it's the old tooling of Atlas model. However, I have gone and added windows to it, the glazing. I put weights in it. So you can modify these, and I've had to modify these in the past. But these cabooses look great once you've done the modifications. And you've seen what the before caboose looks like in that in the TH&V caboose. This is the after, and I've weighted it. They also come very light, so you have to add weights to it. And I put glazing just by using some little glue and some little plastic strips in there. And I think it makes a really good model out of what would have been less a model and more of a toy. And then of course, this last model, if you've seen any of my recent videos, I'm going to be posting this exactly after seeing that abomination of a CN caboose that was running around in the St. Charles Yard. This is what they used to look like, and I would love to see CN take that old cream colored, I guess it was probably, it's a mess anyway, the one in the St. Charles Yard that I showed, to make it look like this. I mean, obviously they would just leave the plates over the glass. That doesn't matter, but what does kind of matter to me is if they were going to paint it this nice red and black at the top. And they wouldn't put the yellow on the cupola, because yellow on a cupola indicates international service. Back when these cabooses were running on road freights, between 1971, I think, when they started making these, up until 1985 or 86, when the caboose was finally retired from use, and a lot of mainline railroads following an FCC ruling that they weren't needed anymore. And Canada, of course, followed suit very, very quickly. So, not to make this a really extra long video, but just to show you some caboose evolution in N scale. So if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to Cool Trains in Montreal, and have a good day.